Hi, this is Michael Uslan. You're listening to Batman on Film.
I'm vengeance.
I have given a name to my pain.
The Batman.
Always waiting for some Batman to save you.
It's simple. We kill the Bat of Gotham. I'm Batman.
Hey now, welcome to episode number 52 of the Batman on Film Social Hour. I am the founder of Batman on Film, Bill Jet Ramey. Did you know that? I founded Batman on Film on a web TV in 1998.
I've heard the story.
Was it Jet D60's Batman 5 page?
Jet D60's Batman 5 page. Yes.
The interweb.
Yes. Web TV.
Do you still have that web TV?
I do
device?
not. I wish I did. I put it in the
It
office.
should be in the office.
It should be a freaking, it's a relic, man. It's an important part of Batman on Film history.
I bet you can buy one on eBay.
Oh, you could, but it's not the one that I did Batman on Film on. There's, some
No, I get it, but just
the historical significance is wouldn't be the same. Now you got me thinking about looking one up on eBay,
you can get a refurbished one.
and then I can just say, hey, this is it. This is where it all started. Batman on Film on this web TV.
You can have a little section in the BOF office, the BOF museum,
Yeah,
and that can be one of the first things
yeah,
submitted.
yeah. Now to Rachel, love this idea.
Oh yeah.
She's already on my ass about all this Batman stuff I've been buying lately.
Does she know who she's married to?
Unfortunately,
Be that
yes.
surprised.
Yes.
Yeah, like, this is an issue now, 20 some years later.
So everything something pops up. When did you order this? It shows up at the doorstep.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm waiting for some stuff today to come. I did order that. Anyway, let me enter. Okay, I got two senior BOF contributors with me this time. This is I have Peter Verras representing the Northeast straight from Jersey and from the heartland of America. It is Ryan Lauer representing the Midwest. How about that? Is that good? Did I do my geography correctly there?
That's a good intro.
Sounds
Okay.
about right to me.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody want to talk about weather before we get started? Any snow? Either one of y'all getting any cold weather right now? What's the weather like?
Weather's cold, snow is melting, but
Okay.
still a little chilly.
All right. Ryan?
Bill? Yeah, you'll love this because
All right.
you asked. I don't know that you'll be able to see, but tomorrow high of 54 and 100% chance of snow.
Mm.
That's tomorrow here in
Okay.
Northeast Indiana. So it's 52 right now. That snow from 2 weeks ago is melting, and then we're getting ice. We're getting rain and ice tomorrow all day, and then snow tomorrow night.
Well, it's going to be 75 here today. And then a front's coming in, and it's going to be back in the 20s, and we may get some freezing precipitation.
You're gonna get another iceberg.
I hope we don't. No, hell no. Pete, did you follow my iceberg story?
I've been watching it. I've been paying attention.
That son of a bitch lasted damn near 10 days after the
Resilient.
thing. Yeah. Yes. And we had some like 60s and stuff. So that was something else. And I'm going to go ahead and plug the Batman on Film Watch Party is on the 5th of March in Plano, Texas, which is it's a suburb of Dallas. Okay. North. And it is going to be at the at the Cinemark West Plano and XD, and XD. And we're seeing a 4 p.m. screening. Well, those tickets went fast for that day. There's probably a scattering of tickets left. It's in several different theaters within the theater itself. But the pre-party starts at 12 p.m. That's going to be at the Parkway Tavern, which is a stone's throw away across the other side of the Dallas North Tollway. And then we'll have an after party at Scruffy Duffy's, which is just a mile and a half away. And that's also in Plano over at the shops in the Legacy area over there. So anyway, what maybe reminded me of it is I've been checking on the weather for y'all. So, usually it's just like a 10-day advance, but I found one that did it like a 20-day advance, and I took a screenshot and sent it to y'all, and it was supposed to be like 50s and 60s, low 50s. And then now we're getting like in the Weather Channel app, you're getting closer to that 10-day window. It's like 2 days out. So it could look like there could be some low 30s. I don't know if it continues into that weekend, but just FYI.
Right. I might just come dressed as the Riddler.
Okay.
Please do.
Bring that big jacket, you'd be good.
I already got it. You saw it.
Yeah,
I got it.
I see a big green jacket. All right, let's talk. Look, I've said this. I think I said it to Ryan last week. I've said it on the Batman and Film Facebook group. I'm like, I'm done. My job is done. I mean, the movie's here. The press is in full swing, but there is still a few cool things to talk about. And one thing I guess is worth mentioning is the Batman will get a release in China. That's kind of a big deal.
That's a big market. I remember Suicide Squad did not, the first one. I don't remember about James Gunn's Suicide Squad, but the first movie, that one did not get released in China and still made a boatload of money.
Yeah.
So that is a huge market. That's good. It can only help for all of us who want this movie to be financially successful.
Yeah.
Behind the US, that's the next biggest market usually, isn't it? China?
I was going to ask y'all, isn't it like the biggest market in the world now?
I believe they have the biggest population in the world, so I would assume that would mean it's the biggest market in the world.
I'm not going to.
I don't know.
It's a big ass market. How about that?
There we go. Let's just do that. Yeah. Let's cover
What's
it all
a bigger
that
country,
way.
China or Russia?
In population, China.
China. Okay, so
Yes.
I count that as the biggest market. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, does Russia ever have any beef with movies and stuff like China does? I'm not sure.
Not as strict, I don't believe. Not as bad.
Okay.
Now, back in the day with when it was the Soviet Union, that was a different story.
They probably haven't seen that Rocky Drago movie yet, huh?
Yeah, I doubt that showed up there, but I don't know. So someone will tell us. But anyway, it's coming to China. No release date yet, but that's good for the Batman box office. Spider-Man: No Way Home did not have a China release. Interesting. And apparently, and I don't know the details, but I was reading the Deadline article about the Batman in China. China has some unofficial boycott of Disney for some reason, or
really,
yeah. I don't know. I can't tell you the detail. I just read it in that article. So
okay, I did not know.
Someone knows the reason, email me and let me know. I like to be educated. All right, so another big ass market, China, for the Batman. All right, Den of Geek article. Did y'all both read that?
I read the recap. I didn't read the whole article.
Okay. So what were y'all's thoughts of that overall? One of y'all go first while I pull up my quotes.
Ryan,
I thought it was good. A lot of the stuff that's coming out now, I mean, it's good, but now it's all starting to feel kind of the same information, just written by somebody else. So I think that's where I might have the Peter strength here and start to go a little on blackout of things. I say this as something dropped today, even, and I started reading it, but I mean, a lot of it, I mean, that included it's all sounding like a lot of stuff you've heard before.
Yeah, you
so get the idea.
You get the fact, and it sounds like to me from doing this before in the past that this might have been at one big set visit or one big media event, even though it was earlier, because I get some, they've said some of the same things, repeated things, almost exactly verbatim have showed up. So, but still, I mean, I get the passion from Reeves and Pattinson over Batman and really everybody that talks about it,
Yeah. For me, it was the fact that, just the source material they read, he mentioned Bob Kane, Bill Finger, Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams, and Scott Snyder. And I think it's interesting because a lot of people were saying that the Tom King Bat-Cat run was an influence on the movie, just because of the main characters. And he didn't mention that, so I guess that wasn't the case. But Batman and Catwoman go way back before that, so interesting stuff there. And I'm happy. Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams is probably my favorite overall era of Batman. even though it's maybe a little dated at times, but you can see those influences
that's
in the car and such.
6, 7, 8, 9-year-old me. That's what formed my Batman sensibilities. Was that reading that stuff in the early 70s. Here's one quote from Matt Reeves from the Den of Geek article, and it's how he formulated the film and the setup of the film. He says, I didn't want the arc to become, quote, he becomes Batman and then faces off with this particular rogues gallery character. I wanted you to see an imperfect Batman who would be driven to do what he's doing in a way that was almost like a drug. He's addicted to being Batman because it's really an attempt to cope with those things in the past that we don't see. I thought that was really fun to see a version of him that definitely hadn't mastered himself, that was definitely in the process of becoming the Batman that we all know, the fully formed Batman. I do like the fact that he didn't want to do, we've seen it even in Batman Begins, I'm training to become Batman, then I'm gonna face off against Scarecrow, Ra's al Ghul, stuff like that. And we've seen that in other films. It always seems like it's more about the villains, and I would say that's definitely the case in the first 4 films, the Schumacher-Burton films. Not so much in the Dark Knight trilogy, because it was really focused. It was a Bruce Wayne story, but this one is really, really, really has to do with Bruce Wayne and Batman, and not being fully formed. We've talked about this for a long time, and people, why does he look like? Why is he an emo Bruce Wayne, and why is he unkempt? And I said because that's what Reeves wants. It's not like Robert Pattinson showed up looking like that, and he says, I'm going to look like this because I am Robert Pattinson. Damn it.
Yeah, he's figuring it out. That's the whole point of the movie.
Reeves said, okay, this is what Bruce Wayne's going to look like in the film. So, grow your hair out a little longer, blah, blah, blah. He's unkempt. He's worried about is being Batman. He doesn't care about the Bruce Wayne stuff. There's no public Bruce Wayne. There's no Playboy Bruce Wayne. It's Batman 24/7, and he doesn't know how to deal with it. Right? Yeah. That's what they said. So
it brings me back to my interview with Mr. Uslan a few years ago, where one of the questions I asked him was, is Batman Bruce Wayne crazy? And that's where this whole he's addicted to Batman thing kind of makes me think like, oh, cool, we're finally going to get some answer to that. Because, why would this guy dress up like this? And, there's got to be something a little off there. I get the trauma and the motivation, but there's still why be Batman as opposed to going to therapy, right? I think this movie will actually kind of give us some answers there.
Batman is his therapy, right?
In a way.
Or he thinks it is, at least right now.
Yeah.
Maybe a form of physical therapy.
Yeah. Because he just doesn't care about anything else. Ryan?
I do like how it feels, and which I think Reeves has said this in the series of reports that come out now a little bit, of almost like giving you something sort of familiar, but then we need to reinterpret it, or give a new spin or a new angle or something. And I kind of feel like that's where this is, because the often comparisons now of Batman Begins, but it's like, no, this is going to be different, because you'd almost think that one has what you just described, Bill, of he's going off and he's learning to train, and then he comes back and he's figuring it out. And it's like, so when we see this version of Bruce Wayne, some elements are going to feel familiar, but it's going to be new too. So I hope I described that accurately. It does feel comfortable, and we're kind of like, this is what we know, but then it's not going to play out
similar but different.
We've seen.
Yeah, it's like, well, in Batman Begins, he does go off, he trains and fights and learns and blah blah blah. The whole traveling. He's gone 7 years, whatever it was. Excuse me. And when he comes back to Gotham, he is he's got to figure out Playboy Bruce Wayne, but he's not in pain over his parents' death anymore. He's on a mission to clean up Gotham. And and he's gonna be Batman as long as it takes, and it's different. This one, he's still clearly not. Pattinson has said he thinks everyone he's fighting is the person who killed his parents. That's how he goes. Yeah. He goes about it.
He's vengeance.
Yes.
Was it the Den of Geek article where it kind of opened with Pattinson talking about how they switched up that fight against.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. Yeah, I got the quote if y'all want to hear it. He says, how it was initially staged was the guy says, "Who are you?" Or what does it say? Who do you? Ends up being
who the hell are you supposed to be?
Yeah, who the hell are you supposed to be? And Batman says, "I'm vengeance," and then beats everybody up. So I said to Rob Alonzo, the second unit director and supervising stunt coordinator, I want to say to the guy's face when he's basically dead, it's not theatrical. You just want someone to be terrified after. It's like a horror scene almost, you know. So that was kind of cool, you know, that he kind of improvised in a way.
Yeah, like it just proves that it was a really good work environment. You know, they're feeding off each other. They're listening to each other and what they have to say. I'm sure they filmed it both ways and they looked at what's best, and that was that. And you know, again, that's just nice.
I think he's right, because he's, you know, who in the hell are you supposed to be? And then he just whips that guy's ass and he makes it, "I'm vengeance." You know, it's like, okay, that's what I am. I just whipped your ass.
I feel like all of us watching that for the first time in that first Fandom trailer, when we saw him, he knocked that guy out. The guy down, and then it was the extra punches.
Yeah,
that I think we probably all did do, like, oh shit, like that's an extra step, and then for him to deliver that "I'm vengeance," that I feel. I
hope the guy's not dead.
Yeah, I hope he's.
The last thing I need is another Batman who kills.
And I kind of feel like this might be the most psychological Batman movie yet.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
For how just hearing. And then the point I'll bring up that's also in this article, but in hearing Reeves and Pattinson both talk about this version of Bruce, and again, I feel like I always need to say this is in no way shitting on any Batman movie that's ever come before. It's just I feel like this is how this one's approach is a little different. It does just feel a lot more psychological.
Yeah, you didn't even really get that in the Dark Knight trilogy, because Bruce comes back and I'm good. I'm ready to kick some ass, clean up Gotham, you know? And I'm not, I love the Dark Knight trilogy, so that's not a negative. It's just, that was the take on it.
Yeah.
I probably the most, other than this, might have been Batman Forever, to be honest, you know?
Which cut?
Even the one we got in, even the theatrical cut, but definitely the Red Diary cut would have really got into it. But, you know,
there's a little bit of it. It's like Akiva Goldsman said, like, you know, there's a reason why the love interest in that movie is a psychologist or whatever, a therapist or whatever. So, you know, it all fit the theme they were doing, and you know, I can't wait to see it. The Batman, that is.
Real quick, we can move on from the Den of Geek article. Reeves says it. Excuse me. It was always going to be PG-13, even though they're pushing it pretty good. You know, based on what I've been told by a couple of people I know who might have seen the film, it does push it.
Yeah, you know? I've heard that as well. I heard that it's always scary.
He said there's no R-rated version sitting in some vault in Warner Brothers waiting to be released one day. So Pete, don't start no damn hashtag move it.
Team Yellow Oval's been active for like 2 years.
I don't want no damn hashtag. What is it? Release the Reeves cut. No,
I am not going to start a pressure campaign. That is for sure. But I am excited. I don't think this movie, you know, PG-13 movies can push the limits a little bit. You know, like I'm fine with that. What makes a movie R is, I don't know, a nudity and probably some F-bombs, I feel like. And that doesn't necessarily need.
Yeah, you can get away with an F-bomb in a PG-13.
Maybe like, I think there's like a limit. I think if you say like it twice, it makes the cut. But you know, whatever. I mean, if Matt Reeves wanted to make an R-rated Batman movie, then he should be able to make an R-rated Batman movie. If he wanted to make one that's PG-13, PG, hell, if he wanted to make one that was G, if that was his vision, let him do it, and I will see it and judge it. But I got no problems with whatever. Again, this is the film he wanted to make.
I don't want to get off on a tangent, but I will say I think PG-13, especially the way it is today, is probably the sweet spot for Batman. You know, I know there's people who say, well, I think you should be able to bring your kids to a Batman movie, and that's kind of like, okay, that's kind of the mentality for me, where comic book stuff, that's for kids stuff. You know, I think the genre has evolved quite a bit since
Well, I mean, if you're
early
saying comic
days.
book stuff or kids stuff, then I don't think you're really going into a comic shop because I don't see many kids going out and buying comic books. One, they don't have a job.
Well, yes.
So they're not really the target audience. They do make comic books for kids, like Ryan Lauer's favorite book, Batman
Correct.
Scooby-Doo Adventures. But I wouldn't even say Batman or Detective are written for kids. I think those are written for young adults, and teenagers. I think
I think 13
old
plus
way
is
thinking.
perfectly fine. I think there's plenty of things that are for younger children that can be a conduit into the world of Batman. I just, you know what I mean when I say, because there is still, it's not like it was, nothing. There still is a little bit of stigma amongst the general audience. It's like, Batman, that's comic
They've
books.
made some
That's,
progress since superhero movies have dominated the box office for the last 20 years.
I mean, ask Michael Uslan about when he was pitching Batman, and
he got laughed out of the studio.
Yeah, so yeah. All right, so EW article, the Entertainment Weekly just dropped.
Can I do the Den of Geek real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
The thing that I really liked that they brought up, that they actually did Pattinson's favorite Batman comic book stories.
Yeah. All right, good one.
Which I think fits into the psychological aspect and this I could see some people actually reading this list and maybe feeling, because he said, and P, I don't know if you've seen this yet either, but they said his picks include Arkham Asylum from Grant Morrison, Shaman, Birth of the Demon, The Man Who Falls, and Batman Damned.
So maybe we will get some nudity in this movie.
That's those are some interesting picks. I love that he includes The Man Who Falls. I love that he included Birth of the Demon, perhaps Norm Brayfogel's best artwork ever. I think that's a really good story. We all know what Arkham Asylum's like. That's a bit of a trip. Shaman, I haven't read in a while. I don't remember that.
I like Shaman quite a bit.
I got to give it a reread myself.
Yeah, I can't even tell you what happened.
I believe that was the first storyline in Legends of the Dark Knight. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the first, because then the second was Gothic.
Yeah. I'm with him on all of those. Wasn't a huge fan of the story of Damned, but I love the artwork because that's my boy, Luca Mayho.
Yeah, that's
I need to give that another read and see if I will come around on it a second time.
That one is interesting because I got to review that for BOF when it was coming out.
Yeah.
And at the time, I think I was pretty confused by it. Loved the art, obviously, from the first look we ever got of it.
Yeah.
And the art throughout is great. I just wasn't sure about the story, but I've read it a few times since, and it has, it's grown on me. I kind of feel like there is a deeper point that I'm getting closer to on each reread.
That's good. That's good storytelling.
And it's interesting, but I wouldn't tell anybody of you have to read it because you're going to love it, because I think it will always be divisive. But I know that Lee Bermejo, I think on his Instagram, he saw that Pattinson commented on Damned, and he was pretty happy about it.
He should be. He's had a lot. I feel like Lee has had a lot of influence.
Oh, he has
on this version of Batman. From the suit to Batman Damned. Lee should be very proud. If he isn't already, he should be very proud of the stamp he has left on the character, because seeing it in live action takes it to the next level.
That suit, as Curly Howard would say, it ain't no coinky dink. The way the suit looks, similar to Lee's artwork.
Well done.
There you go. Yes.
I loved that. That part stuck out to me because I feel like everybody loves to read about lists and hear lists and give lists, and so to just have Pattinson, and they're not the typical. You both know, and anybody who listens to me regularly knows how much I love The Long Halloween.
No,
it's great that there's some deep cuts in there, and that's always appreciated. And it doesn't surprise me either that Pattinson would go for the typical.
What I like,
stories.
Just speaking of comics, is that Reeves read all kind of stuff we already mentioned. Pattinson read 4 months straight or something like that.
Yeah.
Just Batman comics one after another. So that's not all. So anyone thinks that's all he read? He read a lot of stuff. Because he'll bring it out.
Favorites.
He'll bring it out.
Yeah.
He'll pop. He'll do an interview. He'll mention something.
The only other actor that I've actually heard put in that much time in their characters, Margot Robbie and Harley Quinn. She read an insane amount of Harley Quinn. Granted, there's not that much compared to what Batman has, but she definitely, as I like to say, put in the work.
I feel like there were pictures of her like in airports or something where she's
reading,
shown sitting there reading Harley Quinn stuff, and that's always appreciated. I think of like you're invested in the source material. It's always appreciated.
Absolutely.
Put in the work, right, Pete?
Well, you know how I feel.
Yes. I just wish Pattinson had put that kind of work into actually, working out for Batman. Like he did with reading comics, because
I think so. The budget was $100 million. I think $5 million was just on creating muscles to put on him.
Yes.
So they could have saved
that shot, and that shot of him pretty jacked up in the trailer. CGI.
It's crazy.
He wears
come a long way in CGI.
He wears a green suit. And CGI like on top of it.
Nobody complained that Val Kilmer wasn't like ripped to death in Batman Forever.
Oh, there was no Twitter then, Pete.
I guess
there's no Twitter. All right. All right. EW article. Ryan, I'm going to throw it your way. Anything? I mean, I'll let you kind of pick up the slack here on that. I just kind of skimmed through it.
This dropped today, and it's a long article, and I feel like this has got to be coming on one of their upcoming issues. But it's pretty Pattinson and Kravitz focused on the two, them sharing their on cameras, like their chemistry screen test and stuff, which Bill, I feel like the last couple times we've talked, we're finding out more and more about these screen tests, and the only one I hadn't heard yet in this was about, like, it was intense. It was their first time, and Pattinson had to, because they kind of wanted him to tower over Kravitz a little bit, and so he had to wear heels. So like wearing heels, and then we'd heard about and that was when he wore the Kilmer suit, because we've heard he's done the Kilmer and Clooney bits of their attire. So that's kind of interesting, but the article, a lot of it does focus. It's kind of what I said earlier of, we feel like we've read a lot of this through other reports. It's just a different version, and there's some little snippets included that's a little bit different, like that, the heels part and stuff. And there is, and I'm not one, I don't know what somebody considers spoilerish or not. It does sort of set the table for how Batman and Selina do end up meeting, coming into contact with each other in the movie. And if maybe people don't want to know that, that's in there. But so I mean, it's definitely worth a read if you're drinking in all of this stuff right now. Absolutely add it to the list. But if you're trying to go in blind, then I'd maybe wait and read this after you see the movie, which is something I've said before too, that I love to do. That is after I see the movie, go back and start eating up all this stuff again.
I've got nothing on that other than I just skimmed through it, and it seemed like a lot of the things that I've read before, but a few new tidbits in there, and that's good enough. So at this point, you kind of, it's here, it's just
that's kind of why I'm trying to stay dark. Like, you're here, did you read this? And like, I'm not, it's not because I don't want to, it's more or less like I don't need to, like, like I've been sold since that first fandom trailer. I just get me to the movie and see it, and that's so I can judge it for myself. But like the things that you guys are talking about sounds great. I'd be interested. There's something about seeing it on screen for the first time, whereas if like something where you're saying like how Selina and Bruce actually interact, or Cat Bat, how they meet together, like I kind of don't want to read that in print. Like for me, it's not a spoiler because it doesn't really ruin the movie, but it's like seeing it for the first time on screen is how I want to see that. Like I don't want to read about what the movie's about. I want to see what the movie's about. That's even why I'm kind of holding off on reading that prequel book that everyone loves, because it's like I just want to step into the world that Matt Reeves wanted me to see. Whereas like I'm sure that book's good and everyone loves it, but I want to go into this movie fresh for the first time and just be immersed in this world and just kind of just bask in the glory of everything that it was meant to be. And I will read that book after I see the film, but I'm not gonna really check it out, anything until beforehand. Like it's what, 2 weeks away, something like that. Like I'm ready to go here.
So it was something that I hadn't seen before, and it was a really quick little snippet here that, you know, we know about how Reeves was working on post for his Planet of the Apes movie, and he was kind of dodging Warner Brothers wanting to meet with them until the agent said it's about Batman.
Yeah.
But apparently, and I hadn't heard this before, Ridley Scott and Fede Alvarez were on their shortlists reportedly, director shortlist.
That I remember that being reported. I think it's Fede.
Okay.
I think it's pronounced
Fede. Okay.
Fede. But yeah, I remember hearing it.
That's interesting to me, of the Fede, because he did the Evil Dead remake, which was really good, but really pretty brutal. And then he did Don't Breathe, which was a really good kind of thriller movie with some surprises. So both of those picks, though, and even with Ridley Scott, and I like a lot of Ridley Scott's work, I just feel like
his recent Alien films are kind of
those are two picks. I'm glad we have what we have. But yeah, that was something that I hadn't come across before. Maybe
the Fede Alvarez stuff really is interesting because it fits the mold of horror directors taking over DC properties: James Wan, David F. Sandberg, Andy Muschietti. So I don't know, you know, I can't remember if Don't Breathe was a New Line film or not, but it does kind of feel like, you know, there's kind of a theme now with DC. I know Patty Jenkins is not a horror director either, but it seems that they're kind of leaning with those guys. Maybe it's because they can make great, successful movies on a small budget. Maybe they're trying to scale back a little bit in that sense. Maybe that's what they're going with, but it does kind of fit a theme that they're looking for those guys. And if Fede wants to come on board DC, I'm all for it. You know, like if he wants to make Dead Man, bring it on.
I've been on the Dead Man bandwagon.
Or Justice League Dark, and along that, you know, they want to bring Swamp Thing back to the theaters. You know, like there is a huge selection of scary DC characters that they can bring up to the table. So we'll see. Maybe we'll mention again.
Let's jump ahead because this is what people do at press junkets for films, especially these kind where it's a franchise. They ask about what's next always. And with Batman, it's always what villains do you want to see? What villains are you interested in using? Which drives me nuts.
Reeves is actively saying, I don't want to make this about the villains. It needs to be about Batman. And then I agree. So who would you want as a villain?
Let's come up with what story we're going to write, and then we'll fit the villains in there. Of course, they asked that. And then we'll talk about that and Robin, because they asked about Robin as well. Oh, actually, Pattinson kind of brought that one up. So this comes from Collider. Reeves, I loved how this has been written at people who picked this story up, because Reeves is asked about villains and the fantastical villains, and he's saying that I am kind of dealing with grounding this thing. But he says, and I've said this a lot, you know, I'd like to see, like, say, a Mr. Freeze. You take Mr. Freeze, you unwrap, what's the word you unwind the fantastical and see how it could make sense here, you know, here in this universe. Is a great example. Batman, most of Batman's rogues gallery are quote unquote realistic, or, you know, they're not super powered, most of them. So Mr. Freeze, I mean, you could easily do Mr. Freeze. He doesn't have to be literally frozen to be Mr. Freeze, you know? Now I know some comic book people would probably go, he's got to be frozen. He has to fall in a vat of chemicals and blah, you know, all this stuff. But no, not really. You don't have to do that. So, and but it was I know Pete wants to comment, but it was turned into, you know, a lot of headlines I saw. Reeves is going to use Mr. Freeze in the sequel to the Batman, and
he wants Mr. Freeze as a villain. Yeah, saw that.
He was just using Mr. Freeze as an example of how you can take a fantastical Batman villain and make it fit into what he's doing and a grounded approach, but still be very loyal to the character. So go ahead, Pete.
Again, if he wants to do this, then let him do it. If he's throwing hints out there, sure, to see if people bite, I'm all for it. If he wants to go fantastical, if he wants to go realistic, I'm just here to watch it and see what it is. We've seen many interpretations of Mr. Freeze. We all agree that Batman the Animated Series probably did it better than most. And if he wants to take some influence there and to put his own spin on it, then I'm all for it. I'm not opposed to it. I again, just whatever he wants to do. Like, again, I never would have came up with this look for the Riddler, never in a million years, but this is what he has in his mind, and this is what the character does. So I'm all for it, and I will again see it and judge it. But whatever these guys want to come up with, I would love to see a more modern update on Mr. Freeze and kind of wipe the stink of Arnold and Gotham away and see what Mr. Reeves can come up with Mr. Freeze. So I'm not opposed to any of this. I just, again, it's just, I don't want these things to be rushed. I just want them to be taken care of with a lot of heart and a lot of passion. And it seems like he has that. So
I know
whatever
where
he thinks is best.
I know where Ryan falls in with the villain thing. It's a story first,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't speak out of turn there.
Yeah,
Ryan. So
no, I don't think you did.
Well,
the only time that we kind of felt like it had to be was the end of Begins. They flip over the Joker card.
Yeah.
Then you just expect that the next movie's got to be about the Joker.
Yeah.
But other than that, no. I mean, it's whoever fits the story, and I'm fine with that. He has so many good villains that it would be cool. We get another interpretation of somebody we've seen before a few times, but also cool, we're getting somebody we've never seen before.
Yeah, like if he comes up with a Court of Owls for the next one, I don't care. Like, just as long as it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, Clayface can be done. You go back to the Basil Carlo original version of the character. He was a master disguise. Before he became a shape-shifting blob. So that would be comic book accurate if they went that direction, if they went Clayface. So yeah, y'all, I would say y'all tend to are more accepting of the fantastical stuff than I am. I'm a little bit more rigid because I'm old and I'm set in my ways. But I would love to. I would like to seeing some takes. Like recently, unwind the fantastical and see how it fits. With some of these other Batman characters.
Mostly, honestly, this isn't going to be the last version of Batman we see on screen.
No,
this character is going to keep going.
Reeves has said that himself. He said when this whole the Batman verse thing is done, and whenever 10, 15 years, whatever, it's going to be something else.
It's his now. Who knows what somebody comes up with in the next iteration, and that's why Batman's great. That's why he's been able to, last 80 plus years. He's been able to evolve. People have different ideas and different takes, and there's nothing wrong with that. And again, there are some versions of Batman in print I like. There are some versions of Batman in print I don't like, and it's not a big deal because the next run by the next writer's coming up, and there's a reason. We've gone from Morrison to Snyder to King. It happens. It's a rotating door of writers and artists, and you may not like one, but it's not going to last forever. And I feel the same way about Spider-Man in the MCU. So
Pattinson, he mentioned Calendar Man would be cool, and Court of Owls is what he mentioned at some point. Speaking of Pattinson, I guess he's asked about Robin, and he pulled a very cool Pattinson troll type, doing a bit thing, and he said, he says, "Yeah, I'd like to have Robin, but he has to be 13." And I know.
Is there a video of this, or is this just in print?
It's in print, but I bet you anything he's doing a bit here.
Okay.
He's doing a bit. Not saying he doesn't want Robin, but he's got to be 13. That's all this dude does is this kind of stuff. And no, because he says, yeah, but he has to be 13. That's the only way I'll accept it. He said, no, I love Death in the Family. So him pulling out a Batman story and stuff. But I think it'd be so cool. People are so scared of it, but it's kind of exciting. I think it would be a really fun addition. So that's what he has to say about the addition of Robin. He's not going to shut it down. He's going to say anything negative in these kind of settings because the film's coming out.
I feel like we've been there before.
Robin and Reeves comes in and says, yeah, there's no way we're doing that. And he's kidding. He says, I'm kidding. He said, I agree with what Rob said. and basically that was it with whoever asked the Robin question. Not the biggest Robin fan in the world. I like solo Batman, but I recognize the importance of the Robin character to Batman and Batman history and mythos. And I would say that it's more likely than not that Reeves and company tried to do a version of Robin at some point in this series of films. So what do y'all think?
I love Robin. I'm a huge Dick Grayson fan. I love Tim Drake. Jason Todd has really warmed up on me the past couple of years, as has Damian. So I'm all excited for it. Like, just mentioning that gets my fanboy, excitement up. I don't need it in the next movie. If they want to do it in the third movie, that's fine, whatever. But we'll see. Killing Robin will be interesting. Snyder teased that a little bit. We got that suit in his series of films. So bring it on. I just, I hope it's not Dick Grayson. I know that was a story in the last iteration. Like, it was supposed to be Grayson that died, and that kind of bummed me out, being the Grayson fan that I am. But we'll see. Again, like, just let him tell a story, and we'll judge it when we see it.
You want a hot Batman take?
Sure.
Y'all?
As long as it doesn't come from Rick.
No, it's coming from me.
Okay.
Well, explain who Robin is to Rick. Okay, carry on.
Okay. I do not like a death in the family story.
It's not a good story.
I do not like it.
It's known because an event within the story, not because the whole story is good.
And
the animated movie's better than the book.
I agree 100%. The whole thing with the Joker being Iran's ambassador to the United States,
diplomatic immunity,
is ridiculous.
It's absurd.
The Robin Joker killing Jason Todd Robin is powerful.
Yeah.
And then here's my issue. The story I didn't think was great, and then they bring him back. He's freaking Red Hood. So I mean, it took all that away, and that's just that kind of was part of the whole thing. Why I'm not a big fan of it. But I am impressed that Rob Pattinson knew that story and brought it up when he was asked about Robin. Oh yeah, but I don't think they're gonna bring Robin into the thing and kill him off. I don't think they're gonna. So that'll be someone someone will pick that up. There'll be someone say, Rob Pattinson wants to do Death in the Family in the next.
Oh, I've seen it already.
Oh, have you? Okay.
I have.
All right. There you go.
I've seen more that Rob wants the 13-year-old Robin than I have Rob wants to kill Robin, but I have seen both of them.
Jeez.
Okay. God almighty.
My preferred Batman is Batman Solo. I love Batman. He's my favorite fictional anything. That doesn't mean that I don't love episodes of Batman the Animated Series that have Robin in it too. I like Batman Forever that has Dick Grayson.
Old wounds.
Robin.
How old is Robin in Batman the Animated Series? He's 16, 17, right?
He's a college student.
Is he? He's that old?
Yeah, he goes off to college.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And Gotham U. So, I mean, you could even say, 18, 19 maybe. I mean, you could pull as much as, freshman in college, but I think he's in college in that one. But I really liked that version. There's a recent 3-issue Black Label series, Robin and Batman, that has young Dick Grayson with Batman. I really liked that one too. So just because my preference is Batman Solo doesn't mean I can't enjoy Batman and Robin. I
would totally be okay with you bring in a young Dick Grayson who's an orphan. Bruce has to take him in, and there's a progression to where he can actually work with Batman, and it's not ridiculous.
That's actually my preferred Batman, is Batman with Dick Grayson Robin, him training him teaching him, almost, looking to pass the torch in some way down the line.
Yeah, you put
that young Ward.
You put a 12, 13-year-old kid in a Robin costume in a movie that's supposed to be like the Batman, it's dark and serious, and I'm supposed to take it serious. I'm going to check out on that immediately. It's got to be. Now he doesn't have. I like that. I thought
I think you got to see it before you can say that, though.
I'm telling you, it just when it's supposed to be grounded and realistic, you can put a 13-year-old kid out in the street. That's just I can't.
I get what you're saying, but in Batman in a sense isn't necessarily that grounded and realistic. He'd probably be dead in the first week.
Well, that's correct.
You know?
True.
It's just-
Fair enough.
You got to be able to bend the imagination just a little bit.
I can't bend it that far, not in live action. But I think Batman and Robin. I'm sorry, not Bat. No, Batman Forever did it okay. The only issue was, what's his name? Who played
O'Donnell.
Chris O'Donnell.
Chris O'Donnell. Chris O'Donnell plays Dick Grayson. He's supposed to be 17, but Chris O'Donnell's like 23 at the time. So
I mean, Tobey Maguire
following
was
the casting norms of the time, high
Yeah.
school students were in their mid-20s in real life, but playing.
Yeah,
I was always bummed that they jumped from his origin to almost Batman and Robin breakup. In between that, I wanted to see Batman and Robin like their status quo relationship, going out together, and that's what I would love to see on film. Actually, even though my preference is Batman solo, I would honestly really love it if in somewhere Matt Reeves includes a Robin somehow, and we get a good amount of time of Batman and Robin status quo Batman and Robin.
Think it would be interesting to see him take this kid on, and then it's like maybe over the course of 2 films before you get quote unquote Robin, and he's 16 or so by that time and can handle himself. So I think
I'd be fine with that.
The odds are, I think we get a version of Robin.
But you know what? I'll stick to. Depends on if they want to put it in the story.
True.
If Reeves doesn't want to do it, then he doesn't have to.
Exactly.
Okay.
If he doesn't want to do
you.
it, then okay.
All right. So I think that's about it, boys. I just want to say there's some new pictures that Warner Brothers released. Some of them we've seen, I think, in some of the magazines at some point, but they put out, they're all high resolution images.
Yeah.
First up, have you seen those? First I've seen of
Falcone.
Falcone.
Yeah.
And Sarsgaard as Gil Coulson is in there.
I haven't seen the movie, but I'm pretty confident in saying they spoiled nothing.
Yes.
They're very safe photos.
The only thing they've given me is a few more options for my background. That's
There you
the only thing they've given me. And I actually, this is going to sound crazy, but I love this picture of Totoro as Falcone with the glasses, the mustache at the pool table. He looks like he's just ready to, I don't know. It's like, hey, boss, and he just like looks up and like, mid shot. You serious, Jackass? I dig it. I'm excited. He's one of the few, he's a great character actor. I cannot wait to see John Turturro in this film. It's a weird thing to get excited about, but
I'm with you.
I love that man, and probably my favorite thing about those Transformers movies.
I'm anxious to see how he played Billy Martin in a movie. Pete, speaking of,
I believe, yeah. He also played if you ever watched that show Monk, he played Adrian Monk's brother. He's hysterical. He can do comedy. He can do drama. He's a great actor.
He was a butler in what was the Adam Sandler? He's a millionaire. Movie comedy in the early 2000s.
Pretty sneaky, sir.
That was my exposure to Turturro. Was that
Mr. Deeds, right? It was Mr. Deeds.
Mr. Deeds, yeah.
I'm anxious to see how much of Falcone in that crime family we see in the Batman. Yep. And I also wonder if he shows up in the Penguin HBO Max series.
Very interested. In that I think it's a Fandango interview with the crew or the cast, matter of fact. Farrell said he did like 6 scenes as Penguin, so he's not in the movie a whole lot. So I wonder how much mafia aspect we're going to get. But again,
because I'm with you,
it's close enough.
Because Pete brought this up when we first talked about the Penguin series. I was thinking, okay, this is going to even be before the I think it's after the Batman, and he convinced me of that. Pete did.
Yeah,
and so
I got a feeling it's like a gang war type thing. Maybe
so maybe we get Falcone, we get Turturro in that series.
Cool.
I'm all for it.
Yeah. All right. So did I mention tomorrow I'm going down to AT&T Plaza, which is in downtown Dallas, and they're going to there's a tour stop with the Batmobile from the Batman's there, costumes, props. I'm going to take video and pictures and stuff and do something. I'll have it on Batman on Film, so I'm excited to see that. That will be on Batman on Film. I talked about the watch party, so all right. Any last words about any of this stuff? We're almost here, man.
I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. I'm excited. I can't wait.
You still holding out to the watch party? First time you see it, right?
Yeah, yes, I am. I want to be
You're stronger
the
than
one
me,
person
dude.
who has that
applaud
that
you.
first reaction. Yeah, I want to see it with my friends for the first time. I don't want.
When we're all there, we're all gonna just be watching you watch it.
That's fine. It'll be the
yeah.
first time in my life. All eyes are on me, so I appreciate it.
I will say that on the 28th of February, around 6 p.m. Texas time, that's Central U.S., you may want to check out Batman on Film, because I may be dropping an article where I'll give my feelings about something that we're all very excited to see.
Is this your last recording, Bill, of anything until you see
It might be, possibly. That's you know what? Maybe.
You should just do like a hot take. Like, I think this is what's going to happen. And then you can compare after you see it. Like, I was wrong. I was right.
I would
kind of kidding.
I get you, but then I'm thinking in my mind, I would be spoiling it for myself. I think, I'll give you one. Batman's in this movie.
Damn it. Spoiler alert.
The whole time.
The Batman will be in this movie.
Hey, that's also commented on in that Entertainment Weekly article.
Oh, is that what you're going to bring up?
So,
that he's like in almost every scene?
Yeah. Which they call it like a Hitchcockian kind of approach, but also that really works pending the story, because I didn't even think about that until way after the fact with Joker, with Phoenix. He's in that movie entirely, so that does help, I think, in playing up could help play up in the creep factor of the Riddler. If we're not like cut to him in his own, in his own room and or anything that we see him when Batman sees him, and then that's the only time that we see him. Like, I do like those kind of, if that's what you're going for, a more like a one direction point of view. I do like that.
He said that the Riddler is like a ghost in this movie.
Cool.
Interesting.
That was the point. And then it's either in Bruce Wayne and Batman is one or the other, or in like every scene in the movie, damn near.
Good.
Which is different. Yeah.
I want to see Batman in my Batman movie. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Well, he's not really in Rises that much, and I got no beef for that film.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, just good story. That's all we need is a good story.
Well, we're about to. What we're going to do? Well, I'll say what we're going to do after this. We got freaking Flash. We got Keaton to talk about. So
we're
and
a
then
spoiled bunch, aren't we?
Right now, yeah. Nothing. I just never would imagine it would be like this. But Batman on Film, it would. But it is, and I'm not going to complain.
Enjoy it now, because one day it will go the way of the Western, and they will be few and far between. So soak it up, enjoy it, stop fighting online, and just embrace it. To be honest,
Ain't people going to start fighting it online? That's just that's just too many internet tough guys out
but
there.
I love the message, Pete. Well done.
Yes, I'm with you on the message. Okay. All right, y'all plug. Let's see. Pete, go ahead. Go first.
You can follow me on social media. That's Twitter, Instagram, and Zack Snyder's favorite platform, Vero, at Pete Illustrated. You can follow podcast number one, a news-based podcast that I co-host with the champion of Long Island, straight out of Gotham, at straight_O_G on both Instagram and Twitter. Follow our Facebook group and our Facebook fan page. You can follow podcast number two, a Spider-Man-based podcast that I co-host with Nick and Nico Caruso, the Italian Spider-Man Coalition podcast, at Italians for Spidey on Twitter. Check out at Team Yellow Oval on Twitter. No set picks, unfortunately, so not going to find that garbage there. But we are anxiously returning the return of the Yellow Oval to the cinematic screen, and Batgirl and the Flash. Check out my reviews of Detective Comics on Batman on Film proper. 7 out of 12 for Shadows of the Bat, so we're almost there.
Oh, good. It's almost, you've got it getting closer to the end in the beginning. I was thinking
over the
that's
halfway point.
Okay, awesome.
The marathon for you, Pete.
Yeah, Batwoman's on a break. It'll be back on the 23rd, thanks to the Olympics. Check that out. Really good stuff there, especially the Poison Ivy episodes. There's some really good superhero TV. Check out my tour reviews on Batman on Film YouTube. I just did one on the Matt Reeves Batmobile by Spin Master, the best Batmobile we've gotten since Batman Begins, as far as a toy line, not a Hot Toys or anything crazy like that, but for $30 you get a lot of bang for your buck. So check that stuff out, and I'm going to toss it over to Lauer. Sounds like Tower.
Lauer sounds like Tower.
My plugs will be about a fourth of the amount of Pete's. Mine are, you can follow all of my reviews and interviews with people like Libra Mayo, Tim Sheridan, and such on Batman on Film proper. I did a Batman movie posters over the years, right up on Batman on Film. So go ahead and look that up. And if you want to listen to me talk about Batman comics, you can do that with my podcast, The Batman Book Club. You can find that wherever you find podcasts, listen to podcasts, and follow on Twitter at the Batman BC. Both of you boys will be up soon too.
I'm coming back for a regular episode, not one of those monthly.
Sure is. Easier homework.
I believe I'll be on there to do Batman the Imposter.
That's right.
All right. I'm going to make it short. I am Bill. I'm a Batman fan. I have a Batman site called Batman on Film. If you want any of my stuff, just go there. That's all I got. Announcer Rachel will take us out. Thanks for listening. And the Batman is coming like in a few days. Enjoy.
Thanks for listening to the Batman on Film Social Hour, Jet's official BOF podcast and vlog. Follow Jet on Twitter at Batman on Film. For BOF news only on Twitter, follow at the Batman on Film. For Jet and everyone at BOF, I'm announcer Rachel. Authoritative, definitive, the original Batman on Film.